Your heart is a liability. It's a traitor living inside your chest, convincing you that passion, excitement, and desire are the true paths to success. You were told to follow it, to trust your emotions as if they were guiding you toward greatness. But what if everything you've been taught about following your heart is wrong? What if the emotions you trust the most are the very things holding you back? The Stoics understood something most people never realize. True power does not come from being ruled by your feelings. It comes from mastering them, from rising above the chaos inside you and choosing clarity over reaction. In a world where most people are pulled in every direction by their emotions, the ones who stay steady, who think before they react, are the ones who hold the real power. Have you ever noticed how emotions can take over your life? One moment, you're on top of the world. The next, you're spiraling into despair, or worse, making rash decisions that only bring regret. That text you shouldn't have sent, that decision you made because you were too emotional, what do they all have in common? Emotion. It's the source of so many mistakes, and yet it's the one thing most people cling to. Society teaches you that your heart should lead, but that's a dangerous game. When you let your emotions control you, you become vulnerable to manipulation, to failure, to disappointment. And here's the truth. Emotions make you reactive, impulsive, easy to manipulate. There's no wisdom in that, only chaos. In a world that constantly encourages emotional expression, the real challenge is learning to detach from those impulses. When you step back, you gain perspective. You begin to see the bigger picture, the consequences of your actions before they unfold. Emotional detachment isn't about shutting yourself off from feelings. It's about gaining control over them. It's about using them, not letting them use you. And here's the paradox. The more you disconnect from your emotions, the more control you gain over them. Think about it. If you react emotionally to everything, you lose your power. You are no longer the driver of your own life. But when you hold back, when you let your mind take charge, you can act strategically, in a way that serves your long-term goals. But this shift isn't something that happens overnight. It's a practice, a daily effort to detach from your impulses, to pause before responding. The truth is, you're not your emotions. They are signals, not commands. You are the observer, the one who watches without being swept away. When you learn to separate yourself from your feelings, you no longer let them dictate your reality. You can face challenges with a clear mind because you've trained yourself to be unaffected by the noise of your emotions. This doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting your feelings control you. And once you make that shift, you start to see the world through a different lens, one that is not clouded by fear, anger, or desire. Imagine walking into any situation with a calm, collected mind. No matter what's happening around you, you remain unaffected. You don't get rattled when someone disrespects you. You don't panic when things go wrong. You simply assess, think, and act. This ability to remain calm in the face of adversity is where true power lies. It's not in being loud, in seeking validation, or in reacting to every external stimulus. True power is quiet, it's steady, it's in the ability to stand firm while the world around you trembles, and it's a skill you can cultivate. If this way of thinking resonates with you, if you're choosing discipline over impulse and clarity over reaction, subscribe. Not just to follow a channel, but to strengthen the mindset that helps you stay steady while the world around you loses control. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Our minds often exaggerate our emotional responses. We catastrophize, we spiral, we imagine worst-case scenarios, and all of this drains our energy and clouds our judgment. But what if you could stop yourself in those moments of panic, and instead of letting the emotion take over, you paused? What if you could replace fear with clarity, worry with action? By refusing to engage in the emotional turmoil, you begin to shape your reality. You stop the endless cycles of overthinking, and you start making decisions from a place of peace. That's the shift I'm talking about. turning away from the emotional noise that surrounds you and stepping into a space where only your rational mind reigns. It's in this space that you make the best decisions, the ones that move you forward instead of pulling you back. The more you practice this detachment, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, it becomes second nature. You stop reacting and you start responding with purpose. But detachment doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean you stop caring. In fact, it's the opposite. By learning to detach emotionally, you begin to care about the things that truly matter. You become more focused, more intentional with your actions, because your energy is no longer wasted on fleeting emotions. You stop getting swept up in the drama of life, and you start to see everything more clearly. And in that clarity, you find the ability to make your next move with precision and power. Imagine waking up every day knowing that your emotions won't control you, that no matter what happens, whether you face rejection, failure, or success, you'll stay steady. You won't be the leaf tossed around by the wind. Instead, you'll be the tree, standing firm and strong. This is what emotional detachment can give you, the ability to stand your ground, no matter the storm. And when you can do that, you unlock your true potential. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the creator of your own destiny. So, where do you start? It begins with awareness. Start noticing when your emotions are driving your actions. When you feel anger rising, stop and ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? What's the deeper fear or desire behind this feeling? By questioning your emotions, you begin to separate yourself from them. You create space between the feeling and the response, and in that space, you gain control. This isn't about shutting off your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about seeing them for what they are: temporary, fleeting, and often misleading. When you stop giving them so much power, you give yourself the freedom to act from a place of clarity and strength. You stop being at the mercy of your emotional impulses, and instead, you become the one who decides how to respond. This is how you win, by mastering yourself, by controlling your reactions, and by taking ownership of your life. When you stop reacting, when you stop letting every small setback throw you off course, you become stronger. It's like a storm that can't touch the ground. Think of a ship in the middle of a storm. The waves crash, the winds howl, but the ship stays steady, cutting through the waves because it has a strong rudder. That's what emotional detachment gives you. It gives you a rudder. It keeps you on course, no matter how fierce the winds are. Emotions will come and go, like waves, but you don't have to be swept away by them. You don't have to be tossed around. Instead, you learn to navigate, to steer your life with precision. You start to see every challenge as an opportunity to practice this skill. Every moment of tension, every moment of doubt, is just a chance for you to anchor yourself deeper. The less you let your emotions control you, the more you control the direction of your life. The key here is consistency. Emotional detachment isn't a skill you master once and then forget about. It's a constant practice, a daily choice to remain calm, to stay grounded no matter what happens. Life will test you, people will challenge you, but with every test you have a choice. Will you react emotionally, or will you stay steady? Will you let the world dictate how you feel, or will you take charge of how you respond? This doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let those feelings drive your actions. You acknowledge them, but you don't act on them immediately. You take a moment, you breathe, and you respond with intention. This gives you an edge that most people will never have. You become the one in control, the one who isn't easily swayed, the one who is prepared for anything. Most people live their lives in reaction to the world. They feel the ups and downs, and they let those emotions decide their fate. But when you detach from those reactions, you free yourself from the whims of the world. You don't have to follow the emotional roller coaster that others are on. You can stay steady, stay focused, and stay true to your path. This is what allows you to move through life with purpose. When you detach from the constant pull of emotions, you create the space to think clearly, to make better decisions, and to keep moving forward no matter what obstacles come your way. You stop being a victim of circumstance, and you become the master of your own destiny. But this doesn't come easily. It requires practice, self-awareness, and a willingness to face the discomfort of not reacting. It's hard at first. You'll want to respond immediately when something triggers you, but the more you practice, the easier it becomes. You learn to pause before you act. You learn to let go of the need for validation, for approval, and for certainty. You start to understand that you don't need to control everything around you. You just need to control how you respond to it. The world can be as chaotic as it wants to be, but you have the power to remain calm in the center of it all. Epictetus once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." This simple truth is at the core of emotional detachment. You don't need to control the world, you need to control yourself. Your reactions are the only things you truly own in this world, and when you learn to control them, you can control your life. It's a liberating feeling, knowing that no matter what happens, you have the power to remain steady. You don't have to be swept away by the world. You can choose to stand firm, no matter what storm is raging around you. As you continue to detach from your emotions, you'll notice something remarkable happening. You start to make better decisions. You stop letting fear or anxiety cloud your judgment. You stop making decisions based on what feels good in the moment, and you start making decisions based on what will serve your long-term goals. This is where the real power lies. Most people live for the moment, making decisions based on how they feel right now. But when you detach from those feelings, you can make decisions with a clear mind, without the influence of immediate emotions. And that's when you start to win, because the people who can think clearly, who can act without being driven by their feelings, are the ones who succeed. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about mastering your emotions, not letting them control you. It's about choosing when to feel and when to stay focused. Emotional detachment is not a lack of emotion. It's the ability to act without being controlled by it. It's the freedom to respond to life's challenges with clarity and purpose. It's the power to take control of your life, no matter what's happening around you. And once you've mastered this, you'll realize that nothing can stop you. Not fear, not anger, not frustration. You become unshakable. The practice of emotional detachment is an ongoing process. It takes time, but with each step, you'll find yourself more centered, more focused, and more in control. You'll stop reacting to the world, and instead, you'll start shaping it. You'll move through life with purpose, knowing that you are the one in charge, and that is where true power lies. But how do you achieve this emotional detachment? It starts with understanding your own biology. Your brain is wired to react, to feel, to follow your impulses. Evolution didn't design you to thrive in the modern world. It designed you to survive. Your ancestors didn't need to plan years ahead. They needed to react quickly to threats, whether it was an animal, another tribe, or a changing environment. The problem is, your brain's ancient wiring doesn't serve you anymore. It's like outdated software running on a powerful computer. It's glitching. In today's world, those survival instincts don't help you navigate business meetings or personal growth. Instead, they hold you back. Fear no longer protects you from lions, it holds you back from making tough decisions. Anxiety no longer helps you survive, it keeps you stuck in place, hesitating when you should be moving forward. The fight or flight response isn't suited for everyday life anymore, it's a hindrance. And this is why you must fight against your own biology. You must learn to turn off that emotional response and stay in control. It's not easy. Your instincts have been honed over millions of years, but they aren't always helpful now. Take fear, for instance. In the past, it was a powerful tool. It kept you alert. It made you act quickly to avoid danger. But now, fear often surfaces in situations where no danger exists, like starting a new project or asking for what you deserve. It paralyzes you, feeding you worst-case scenarios. The trick is not to ignore fear, but to acknowledge it and move forward anyway. The more you learn to control your reactions, the more power you have over your life. This control is not about suppressing your emotions. That would only create inner conflict. Instead, it's about recognizing your emotions for what they are, biological signals, not commands. These signals aren't supposed to dictate your behavior, but too often they do. That's where the real work begins, observing your emotions without getting swept away by them. The less you let them rule your decisions, the more you control your life. Once you understand that your mind is working with outdated software, you can begin to reprogram it. You can begin to see your emotions as tools, not as masters. And this shift in perspective is what makes all the difference. Once you detach emotionally, you begin to think with clarity. You stop reacting to every bump in the road. Instead, you start analyzing situations with a calm mind. It's like stepping out of the chaos and into the driver's seat. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and practice. But every moment you don't react emotionally, you strengthen your ability to stay calm in the face of adversity. You start making decisions with intention, not impulse. This doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting feelings decide your actions. It's a powerful way to live, and it's what allows you to navigate life's challenges with grace. As you begin to master your emotions, you'll notice a shift in the way you approach life. You stop overreacting to things that used to send you into a spiral. You stop worrying about what others think. You stop letting fear make your decisions for you. It's not about denying your feelings. It's about not letting them dictate your choices. You realize that you are not a slave to your impulses, but the master of your own actions. This is the power of emotional detachment. It's not coldness or indifference. It's the ability to stay grounded no matter what happens around you. It's the strength to make decisions based on what's right, not on what you feel in the moment. This mindset will take you further than any emotional response ever could. In a world where most people are reacting to their emotions constantly, those who remain calm, controlled, and calculated will stand out. They will rise above the noise. The more you practice emotional detachment, the more you will realize that the world does not control you. You control how you experience the world. And this is the ultimate freedom, the ability to choose how you respond to whatever life throws your way. When you stop reacting impulsively, you open the door to a more intentional, more empowered way of living. The journey to emotional detachment is not easy, but it's worth it. As you learn to observe your emotions without acting on them, you begin to free yourself from the chaos of emotional reactivity. You stop being tossed around by life's storms and start navigating them with purpose. This is not a passive way of living, it's an active choice. It's a decision to take control of your reactions, to stay calm when everything else is in turmoil, and to make decisions based on logic, clarity, and long-term vision, not short-term feelings. The more you practice this, the more powerful you will become. It's the key to mastering yourself and your life. When you experience strong emotions, your brain literally shuts down your ability to think rationally. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for logic and strategy, goes offline. You become an animal, reacting to stimuli, making decisions based on immediate feelings rather than long-term strategy. This is where most people fall short. They let their emotions take the wheel, and that's when they make mistakes. When you're angry, scared, or anxious, you're not thinking about the consequences of your actions. You're simply reacting to the immediate stimulus in front of you, and that's dangerous. The truth is, we all experience moments of intense emotion, and in those moments, it's easy to lose sight of what's important. We start making decisions driven by the need to feel better right now, even though those decisions may lead to regret later. But here's the thing. Once you realize that your emotions can hijack your decision-making, you can start to fight back. The people who rise above this, they've learned to keep their minds clear, They've learned to act without letting their feelings cloud their judgment. They've developed the ability to step outside of their emotions, to observe them without becoming consumed by them. This isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about not allowing them to control you. It's about recognizing when your emotions are driving you and choosing not to let them dictate your actions. It's about having enough self-awareness to pause and ask yourself, am I reacting based on how I feel in this moment? Or am I making a decision with a clear mind? The answer to that question can make all the difference in your success, your relationships, and your overall well-being. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." To accept yourself means acknowledging both your strengths and your weaknesses, your emotions and your rationality, without letting any of them dominate. This is the key to emotional detachment, not rejecting your feelings, but recognizing them without being controlled by them. When you can do this, you begin to experience true freedom. You are no longer a slave to your emotions. You are the one in control, making decisions based on logic and strategy, not fleeting impulses. And when you can remain calm, focused, and rational in the face of adversity, you will stand out. While others are reacting emotionally, you'll be making thoughtful, deliberate choices that move you closer to your goals. The process of emotional detachment begins with self-awareness. It starts with noticing when you're about to make a decision based solely on emotion. That moment of recognition is crucial. Once you become aware of how your emotions influence your choices, you can begin to interrupt that cycle. Instead of immediately reacting, you pause, you take a breath, you step back and evaluate the situation logically. This pause doesn't need to be long. It's just long enough to create space between the emotion and your response. In that space, you have the power to choose your actions intentionally, not out of habit or emotional impulse. This ability to detach allows you to handle conflict with a level head. When others are yelling, getting defensive, or arguing from a place of emotion, you can remain calm and focused. You're not drawn into the chaos. You're not swept up in the drama. You see things clearly and make decisions based on what will bring the best long-term result, not what will immediately soothe your feelings. It's a powerful way to live because it means you don't let the world push you around. You stay grounded no matter what's happening around you, and when you stay grounded, you can move forward with clarity, purpose, and control. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or pretend they don't exist. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They provide valuable information about our inner world and our reactions to the world around us. But the key is not letting them take over your decision-making process. When you learn to observe your emotions without being ruled by them, you free yourself from the constant pull of your feelings. You can experience them, acknowledge them, but not let them decide your actions. This is the practice of emotional detachment. When you stop letting your emotions control you, you stop being a slave to the whims of life. You stop being at the mercy of every passing feeling. Instead, you become the one who determines your course. You become the one who decides how to respond, who chooses how to act. This is where true freedom lies, in the ability to control your reactions, to stay grounded when everything else is falling apart, and to make decisions that align with your long-term vision, not your immediate emotional impulses. Emotional detachment isn't about denying your feelings. It's about using them, understanding them, and choosing to act with intention, no matter how strong the emotions may be. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. It's a muscle that gets stronger with time. At first, it's difficult to separate your feelings from your actions, but with each moment of awareness, each decision made with clarity, you begin to build the habit of emotional control. And over time, this habit becomes second nature. Eventually, you reach a point where emotional detachment feels effortless. You no longer react impulsively. You act intentionally, with focus and purpose. This is where true strength lies. It's not in avoiding feelings, but in choosing how to respond to them. It's in taking control of your life and becoming the person who can navigate any situation with calm and clarity. This is the turning point. You must stop seeing your emotions as truth. Instead, start seeing them as noise. Emotions often feel so real, so immediate, like they are the most important thing in the world. But they're not. They're simply signals, like alarms ringing in your mind, but not necessarily indicating a real danger. Imagine yourself as a pilot flying through a storm. The instruments are going haywire. The alarms are blaring, warning of every potential risk. The amateur pilot panics, reacts impulsively, and crashes. The master pilot, however, remains calm. He doesn't listen to the chaos around him. He trusts his instruments, focuses on the horizon, and lands the plane. That's how you must approach your emotions. They will scream in your ear, telling you to act immediately, to react, to do something. But in those moments, you must become the master pilot. Instead of letting your emotions take the wheel, you must stay calm, focused on your course, and make decisions with a clear mind. Your emotions are not the truth of the situation. They are just noise, trying to pull you off track. It's easy to get lost in the noise, to mistake the noise for guidance. But once you realize that emotions are not facts, they're simply your mind's response to the world, you can choose to navigate life with clarity, rather than being swept away by every emotional storm. The challenge here is to learn to listen to your emotions without letting them dictate your actions. Think about the times when you've made decisions based on your feelings, maybe out of anger, fear, or excitement. How often did those decisions lead to the results you truly wanted? Often, acting from a place of emotion leads to regret, because emotions cloud our judgment. But when you learn to observe your feelings without reacting immediately, you regain control. You start to make decisions based on what you truly want, not what you're feeling in the moment. This practice of emotional detachment doesn't mean you become numb or insensitive to the world around you. It means you stop letting emotions hijack your decisions. You start making choices based on your long-term vision, not short-term emotional reactions. You begin to see your emotions as temporary experiences that don't have to dictate your behavior. This creates a profound sense of freedom. You are no longer a slave to your feelings. You are the one in charge. The world around you may be chaotic, but you can choose to remain steady. You don't have to be swept away by every emotional current. The key here is creating that space between your emotions and your actions. Most people react to their feelings, but you can learn to observe them without reacting. By doing so, you stop living in reaction and start living with intention. It's like creating a buffer between yourself and the world. When someone criticizes you, instead of reacting with anger or defensiveness, you can step back and assess the situation calmly. When fear arises, instead of letting it stop you in your tracks, you can recognize it and move forward anyway. This ability to pause, to observe, and then act with purpose is what separates those who are controlled by their emotions from those who control their actions. This doesn't happen by accident. It takes practice and awareness. The more you practice emotional detachment, the more natural it becomes. At first, it will feel difficult. Emotions are powerful forces, and it's hard to separate yourself from them, but over time, you'll find that you are less controlled by them and more in control of yourself. The more you observe your feelings without acting on them immediately, the clearer your thinking becomes. You stop being driven by impulsive reactions, and you start making decisions with wisdom and clarity. The world will continue to throw challenges your way, and your emotions will continue to respond. But when you develop the skill of emotional detachment, you begin to see these challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to practice. Each time you remain calm, each time you make a decision without being driven by emotion, you reinforce your ability to stay steady in any situation. You develop a resilience that allows you to handle life's ups and downs with grace and poise. Emotional detachment isn't about being distant or cold, it's about being clear. It's about living intentionally without being swept away by the emotional currents around you. It's about seeing life with clarity and making decisions from a place of wisdom rather than fear, anger, or desire. This is the freedom that comes with mastering your emotions, the ability to be in the world without being controlled by it. You can navigate the storm with calm, and you can stay on course no matter what happens around you. Once you learn to detach emotionally, life becomes much simpler. You stop getting caught up in unnecessary drama. You stop reacting to every slight, every challenge, and every moment of discomfort. Instead, you see everything for what it is, an opportunity to grow, to practice, and to make better choices. When you feel anger rising, you acknowledge it and move forward without acting on it. When fear surfaces, you recognize it and choose to act anyway. This doesn't mean you're immune to emotions. It means you're no longer ruled by them. You become the observer, and that is where true power lies. Hope is paralyzing. It keeps you waiting, trapped in a cycle of if only and maybe someday. But while you're sitting around waiting for something to happen, life is passing you by. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is not that the successful ones have better luck, but that they take action. They don't rely on hope to pull them through. They rely on their ability to act decisively, to adapt, and to keep moving forward, no matter what. This shift from hoping to acting is what separates the dreamers from the doers. Successful people take ownership of their journey. They don't wait for things to change. They change things themselves. They understand that every decision, every step is an opportunity to move closer to where they want to be. Mastering your emotions is crucial to this transformation. If your emotions are constantly in control, you will always be reacting to life rather than shaping it. Emotions are powerful, and they can certainly fuel your motivation in the short term. But when they dictate your actions, you become a slave to them. When you act on impulse, driven by fear, excitement, or frustration, you're not thinking clearly. You're not making decisions with foresight. Instead, you're letting the moment control you. This is why learning to detach from your emotions is key. When you do, you stop being tossed around by every wave of feeling. You stop waiting for things to happen. You take action even when it's uncomfortable. The truth is, your mind is your most powerful tool. When you control your mind, you control your life. Emotions are temporary, fleeting. They come and go. But your mind, your ability to think clearly and act strategically, can remain constant. The key to success is not in being emotionally driven, but in being strategically driven. It's about having a clear vision of where you want to go and making the necessary decisions to get there, regardless of the emotional noise around you. When you make decisions based on logic and long-term goals, you're acting with intention, not reaction. And it's this kind of thinking that drives success. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for things to happen. We've all done it. We wait for the right moment, for the stars to align, for the conditions to be perfect. But the truth is, there will never be a perfect moment. Life is unpredictable, and circumstances will always change. So if you're waiting for everything to be just right before you take action, you'll be waiting forever. The only thing you can control is your ability to act. And the more you act with intention, the more you shape the future you want for yourself. When you stop relying on hope and start relying on action, you shift your focus from the external to the internal. You stop waiting for something outside of you to change, and you start focusing on what you can control. You become the creator of your own reality. Every decision you make, every step you take, becomes a part of the path you're carving. No longer are you a passenger in your own life. You're the driver. And when you're the one behind the wheel, you can steer yourself wherever you want to go. This shift in mindset isn't easy. It takes practice. It takes discipline. But it's worth it. When you stop hoping and start acting, you'll begin to see the results. You'll start moving closer to your goals, and you'll start feeling more in control of your life. And with each step you take, you'll realize just how powerful you really are. When you act with purpose, when you make decisions based on long-term strategy, you begin to shape your own future. And that's when the real transformation happens. You stop being a passive player in your life, and you start becoming the architect of your own destiny. It's time to stop hoping. It's time to stop waiting. It's time to start acting. Every step you take, no matter how small, is a step closer to where you want to be. The future isn't something that happens to you. The future is something you create. And the moment you stop waiting for things to happen and start making them happen yourself, that's when you'll truly begin to experience the power of action. As you begin to detach, to feel nothing, you'll find that the world becomes a game. The emotional turbulence that once defined your reactions becomes less of a burden, and instead of feeling swept away by life's chaotic moments, you begin to glide through them. Your emotions will no longer dictate your moves. You will no longer react impulsively, driven by fear, excitement, or frustration. Instead, you will approach life with a calm, calculated precision, choosing your responses deliberately. This doesn't mean shutting off your ability to feel. It means taking control of those feelings. It's about understanding that your emotions are transient, that they come and go, but your ability to choose how you act remains constant. When you learn to detach, you don't lose your connection to the world. You gain the ability to see it clearly. You see what most people can't: the calm beneath the storm, the clarity amid the chaos. The chaos of life won't overwhelm you. It will be there, of course. Life is unpredictable, challenging, and full of obstacles, but you will embrace it, knowing that in the stillness there is clarity. You will no longer be disturbed by every little setback or disappointment. Instead, you will recognize that these are just parts of the game. They are not personal attacks or moments of failure. They are opportunities. While others are lost in panic or frustration, you will stay focused, observing the situation from a distance, analyzing it with the coolness of a strategist. Life won't be something that happens to you. It will be something you navigate with intention. You will see opportunities where others see threats. While others are drowning in emotional reactions, you will remain calm, and in that calm, you will be able to identify paths they overlook, solutions they miss, and strategies they don't even consider. This shift in perspective isn't just a mental trick, it's a way of life. Once you've detached from your emotions, once you've learned to let go of the constant need for external validation or emotional release, you step into a space of complete control. You stop being a victim of your circumstances, and instead, you start to see the ways in which you can influence them. You move with purpose, unaffected by the distractions around you. You become the observer, watching the world unfold, and in that observation, you find your power. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This process of detaching from your emotions, of mastering your mind and your reactions, is part of that journey. It's the journey toward becoming the best version of yourself, one who is not controlled by fleeting feelings, but guided by rational thought and deliberate action. In this space, you are free, free from the whims of your emotions, free from the need for approval. And because of this, you become unstoppable. Your clarity gives you a sharp edge that others don't have. It's a level of mental and emotional discipline that allows you to act with purpose in situations where others might falter. As you move further into this state of detachment, you'll start to realize that you are no longer dependent on anything outside of you. You don't need validation, success, or approval to feel fulfilled. When you stop needing things from the world, you start to control the world. The person who feels nothing, who needs nothing, is the one who controls everything. This isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about freedom. It's about being untethered, about not being at the mercy of the world's chaos. When you don't need things to be a certain way, you can face any challenge with the confidence that you can handle it, no matter the outcome. This level of detachment is not something that happens overnight. It's a process, a constant practice of observing your emotions without reacting. It takes time, patience, and a willingness to confront your feelings without letting them dictate your behavior. But as you practice, you'll start to notice subtle shifts. You'll stop reacting to life's little irritations. You'll stop worrying about things that don't matter. You'll find that you can sit in discomfort without feeling overwhelmed by it. And slowly, this detachment will become second nature. The power of detachment is not in its coldness, but in its clarity. You are no longer distracted by the noise. You are no longer swept away by the drama of life. You can see the world as it is, not through the lens of your emotions. This gives you a massive advantage over everyone else. While most people are too busy reacting to life to see opportunities, you'll be able to spot them clearly. Where others see risk, you'll see potential. Where they see obstacles, you'll see ways forward. This is the quiet power that comes from emotional detachment. It's not about ignoring life or avoiding challenges. It's about facing them with the confidence that you are in control. This doesn't mean you become numb to life's challenges. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means that you care from a place of strength, not weakness. It means that your decisions are no longer ruled by emotional impulses, but by clear, rational thinking. It's the difference between reacting to life and responding to it with intention. When you master this, nothing can touch you. Life can throw its worst at you, but you'll be unshaken. You'll be the calm in the storm, the strategist in the chaos, the person who remains steady while others lose their heads. As you embrace this mindset, you'll find that you begin to thrive in situations that once felt overwhelming. You'll navigate challenges with grace and purpose. You won't be thrown off course by criticism, failure, or disappointment. Instead, you'll use these experiences to refine your approach and move forward. When you detach emotionally, you stop being reactive and start being strategic. You begin to shape your own destiny, unaffected by the things that used to hold you back. This is the kind of power that can't be taken away. It's the power of being in control of your emotions, your reactions, and your decisions. It's the power of seeing the world not through the lens of fear or excitement, but through the lens of clarity and strategy. And once you have this power, nothing can stop you. The world will continue to throw its chaos at you, but you'll remain steady, focused, and ready to take on whatever comes next. Because when you can detach from your emotions, you become unstoppable. Remember, true power lies in your ability to stay calm amidst the chaos. When you detach from your emotions, you unlock a strength most people will never know. You become the master of your own life, no longer at the mercy of the world around you. Embrace that power, and you'll be unstoppable. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal. If this resonated with you, dive even deeper. Watch the next video on the screen. Keep growing. Keep evolving.